For the past couple years, my daily routine has been looking like this. I get up, I get ready, I eat some food, I do some work for the day, I have some filler moments in between, I go to sleep, and then the next day, I get up, I get ready, I eat some food, I do some work for the day, have some filler moments in between, and then all of a sudden, it's December. Again. How is it December already? And I have no idea what I did with my life. These past couple years I felt like the most chaotic but also the most stagnant years I've ever had in my life. If I could describe it, I would say it feels like my life is on autopilot but constantly. And after having a couple conversations with the people around me, I don't think I'm the only one that's in this sort of vegetable state right now. So I thought it'd be nice today to talk a little bit more about it. First of all, what is autopilot and why do we do it? Autopilot is described as acting or functioning without conscious thought as a result of routine or habit, an emphasis on the words routine and habit. The human brain is a wonderful place, for the most part. It functions in a way that makes life as easy as possible for us. So when it comes to completing tasks that we're familiar with or have repeated a couple times, the brain will go into default mode to save that energy and brain power for more complex and foreign tasks. But essentially, we need it to survive and function efficiently. I mean, how annoying would it be if you felt like a toddler taking its first steps every time you wanted to get something from the fridge? And so we start repeating these actions almost effortlessly, and we do it out of habit. In Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit, he argues that the choices that we make every day are not entirely up to us, but they're up to our habits. In fact, studies from Duke University have shown that 45% of the actions that we make are because of the habits that we form. That should terrify you. It terrified me. That's like half of our lives on default mode. That is so crazy. But overall, it's very natural and very necessary. But when does this actually become a problem? Here are just a few examples, but hopefully this will give you an idea. The first one is when you're having a conversation with someone, but you can't recall anything from it. The second one is when you're doing your schoolwork, but you can't retain any information. I am very guilty of this one. Actually, I'm very guilty of all of them. And third one is when you can't even remember what you ate in the morning. This function was designed to help us with certain parts of our life, but it's not meant to take over the whole thing. Although I can say I've been in this autopilot state for about 2 years now, I've noticed it was at its peak when these 3 conditions were met. 1. I was always waiting for the next thing to happen. Every time I would wake up, I would be excited to go back to bed again later that night. Every Monday, I'd be excited for the Friday. And every weekend, I would get excited for my next long break. So it's this constant cycle of me just waiting for the next exciting thing to happen. And I know it's natural to be excited over certain things over the others, but I got to a certain point where even though the event that I was excited for came around, I was still waiting for the next thing again. For example, if I was waiting all week to go to a party, I would think about the end of the party and how sad I would be when everything was over. And it's not something that I mean to do because I know I'm supposed to be having a good time, but I think I've just become so accustomed to thinking ahead that I don't even know how to enjoy things for what they are in the moment anymore. And that was kind of scary because when I would look back on my day or my week, I wouldn't remember anything because I wasn't present for any of it. So my personal solution to this was finding a way to self-reflect. I've seen a lot of other videos and sites that tell you to start listing your 5 senses throughout the day, but realistically, how often can we remember to do that? So for me specifically, I found it really helpful to start journaling in the form of daily recaps. When I started this, I was kind of iffy because it's something that I would have done in elementary school, but to be honest, they were onto something because it is really beneficial. And I know what you're probably thinking, if I want to be present, why am I looking back on my day? Well, this is why this solution works. Knowing that I have this obligation kind of puts pressure on me to be a lot more intentional with the things I do throughout the day because at the end of it, I know I'm gonna have to recap it. And honestly, being able to look at your recap on paper kind of helps you recognize any toxic patterns that could be causing this stagnant part of your life. Then you'll learn how to be a lot more present in your days. Number 2, no desire for self-growth. Essentially, I just got too comfortable with my current situation and I wasn't actively doing any work to improve myself as a person. I depended solely on school to give myself that push forward. And although things like school and work can do a lot for your intellectual growth, it doesn't really do much for your personal growth because personal growth is something that you have to do at your own will. It's also something that you have to keep on building on because you can never really stop improving as a person. And when you lose that desire, you kind of just start floating through life. My personal solution to this was introducing a new habit, but you have to be realistic. If you have a random burst of motivation and decide to do like a whole 360 on your life, it probably won't last because it's just not sustainable. People don't really change overnight unless something like traumatic happens. But then again, you don't want to wait for something traumatic to happen to sort of improve yourself. So the best way is to start slow. So this is me and this is my roommate Satara. And this is our 8:30 a.m. morning yoga. As you can see, her form is a lot better than mine, but this is something that we've been trying to do every single day. So why does this solution work? Well, the thing is, it helps us make a conscious effort to do something. It's a task that we know we should do, but it would be nice and a lot easier if we didn't have to do it. In simple terms, the long-term benefits outweigh the short-term gratification. Think of it this way. Let's say you have a graph comparing time and total amount of effort that you're putting in. Over time, as you become more accustomed to a habit, the total effort kind of comes to a standstill. Although these plateaus are when a new habit becomes easier, it's also when we're prone to slipping back into autopilot again. Which is why when this happens, you have to keep on introducing a new habit to keep that cycle going. Because if you're gonna be a zombie, might as well be a self-improving zombie, am I right? I'm kidding. Number 3, not pursuing a passion project. Emphasis on the word project here, because you want to create something physical and tangible. If you're not familiar with the idea of a passion project, this is a little brief overview. It's a piece of work that you decide to take on during your spare time. It's not part of work, school, and you don't really do it for any monetary gain, and you do it for the passion of it. However, I find that most times for people, and for me as well, it's hard to really know what your passion is because it's such an abstract idea. So I think by attaching the word project to it, it kind of grounds it a bit more, and it kind of gives a clearer view of the options you could pursue. I also find that the project part of it kind of takes the pressure away from being a beginner, just because the overall idea of the passion project is to get better at whatever you're pursuing by the time you have your finished product. And I know, because I've been there before, it can be kind of uncomfortable to say that you're passionate about something when you know you're not fully competent in it, which really shouldn't be the case, but it's a very common feeling. So my personal solution for this was pretty obvious here. Plan a project. For me, it was making these videos. If you like playing music, maybe you could write a song. If you like to sew, maybe you could design an outfit. It can be literally anything. So why does this solution work? It gives you a sense of purpose. It strays away from your typical day-to-day life, and it's an activity that goes beyond what society would classify as practical, which kind of sucks that it's considered that, but sometimes it is. And honestly, I just think it's really beneficial to have that aspect in your life. But most importantly, it gives you control over a part of your life, which is huge for combating constant autopilot. So that's all that I have for you today. Hopefully you found some of this helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you got this far, please be easy on yourself. It's a long process, but I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time.